All right, Levack, it's that time of the year, baby. Syracuse basketball opens up tonight at home against Kennesaw State, and who else better to talk Syracuse basketball than the one, the only, the guy that's been joining us now for quite some time. It's Mike Waters of Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard. And here we go, Mike. It's basketball season. You ready for this, Mike?
Of course I am. I'm always ready for the start of basketball season.
And here we go, Syracuse, Kennesaw State. Mike, after Syracuse got bounced from the tournament last year against Dayton, what should expectations be heading into tonight's game?
Expectations should be that this could be a fun and exciting season. This has a chance to be a good team, but it's not going to be like it's been in recent years for Syracuse fans. You know, over the last 5 years, Syracuse is they've averaged nearly 30 wins a year, which has just been an unbelievable run. 149 victories in the last 5 years. So one win short of 30 wins a year in that kind of stretch, and that's just unheard of. Losing guys the way they've been losing them in recent years, I think is finally going to take a little bit of a toll. Lost 5 underclassmen to the NBA in the last 3 years, and of course this past season they lost both Tyler Ennis and Jeremy Grant early to the NBA. And I think when they first brought those guys in, they probably figured they'd have them for 2 or 3 years each. And Tyler Ennis was supposed to be the starting point guard on this year's team, and Jeremy Grant was supposed to be a forward, and instead they're gone. And they got some more young kids. It's a very young team. You get past just 3 guys. You get past Rakeem Christmas, Trevor Cooney, and then the top guy off the bench is going to be Michael Benajay. And beyond that, everybody is inexperienced. Everybody is in new roles. I think this team could go, have a little bit of some growing pains early on, but has a chance to be better, much better, in February and March than they are right now.
Okay, well, with that being said, Ennis is gone. Who's the ball handler we're going to watch bring this thing up the court?
It's a second straight year for a freshman at guard, second straight year for a brand new point guard, third straight year, and it's Caleb Joseph, a freshman out of New Hampshire. Went to a prep school over in Massachusetts for the last 4 years, and he's different than Tyler Ennis. He's probably more like a Michael Carter-Williams in that he's aggressive. He wants to push the ball up the floor. Tyler Ennis was always under control, played mistake-free basketball. Caleb's going to make some mistakes. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to, look to run. So I think he'll be exciting, but there'll be a few bumps in the road, and, as he kind of figures out the college game.
Mike Waters of Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team, previewing Syracuse basketball. All tips off tonight against Kennesaw State. Here we go once again. And, Mike, who's going to be the scorer this year for the Orange? Who's the name? Now, you brought up some guys already, but who's the one guy? Where does the scoring come from this year for Boeheim?
It's not going to be one main gun. It's not going to be like, when John Wallace averaged 20 or, when Carmelo Anthony was a 22-point-per-game scorer. And I think they're going to look to get scoring out of a lot of different guys. And, because the good thing is they have candidates who can, do that, who can be a double-figure scorer. But probably nobody is going to average 16 or 17. I think, Trevor Cooney averaged 12 points a game a year ago, should be able to at least hit that number again this year. Rakeem Christmas, the senior center, is a guy who I think can have a big jump this year. Averaged only 5.8 points a game as a junior. I think this year he plays a lot more. He's developed more of an offensive game. He's physical. I think he's a guy they got to exploit. And if he's not averaging between 10 and 13 points a game, something's wrong, and I think things will be going bad for Syracuse. But I think Rakeem can do that. I think he can give them offensive production in the low post, something they really haven't had since Arenzi Anawaku was a senior back in 2010. So those two guys, but Michael Benajay, last year did not score a lot. But this year, I think in addition, I think he'll score more. If he can give them even 10 points a game, that'd be good. But I think he's also going to rebound well for them. Average maybe 4 to 5 rebounds a game. Average 3 to 5 assists a game. I think he's just going to be a guy who's going to do a lot of things and fill the stat sheet. And, And then the two freshmen, Caleb Joseph and Chris McCullough, can both score. Joseph is, like I said, he's aggressive. He'll look for his own shot. He'll get out in transition, get himself some points. But then the real offensive guy, a guy who actually could lead them in scoring, is the 6'10" freshman Chris McCullough. He's a nice player. He's got a lot of physical skills. He's a really talented kid, got a lot of potential, got a great shooting stroke. He's been in double figures in both of the exhibition games. So really, they've got like 5 guys who could all average between 10 and 14 points a game.
Mike Waters of Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard talking Syracuse basketball.
Year 2 in the ACC, what are the expectations? How does Boeheim feel about the conference realignment after 1 year? And, what are the biggest adjustments?
Well, last year when, the ACC had expanded and brought in Pitt and Syracuse and Notre Dame, and everybody was talking about how the ACC was going to be the next Super League, and it really didn't happen last year. It was a top-heavy league, and really the teams that got into the NCAA tournament didn't do, none of them really did all that well. So, but I think this year the ACC is going to be really good. I think it's going to be up there with the Big 12 as one of the best leagues in the country. They have 4 teams that are in the preseason top 10. Duke, North Carolina, Louisville, and Virginia are all going to be really, really good. But how good the ACC really is going to depend on teams like Syracuse, Pitt, Florida State, Notre Dame. And if those teams can be good, play well, and get the league towards, 8 or 9 NCAA bids, now you got a real league. And I think it's going to be really tough. The problem is, last year Syracuse went into the ACC, and Syracuse was one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. This year, I think there's 4 teams in the league that are probably better than Syracuse as we go into the season anyway, which is going to make it a much tougher conference schedule for the Orange.
Mike Waters of Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard talking Syracuse basketball tonight against Kennesaw State. They open things up. And, Mike, with Boeheim's backcourt being thin, could we see Coach Boeheim going with a bigger lineup throughout the season?
It'll be big when they put Michael Benajay at one of the guard spots. Other than that, I really don't think they have the front court to do much with. And I think Michael Benajay, at least from what we've seen in the 2 exhibition games, he's going to be playing a lot at small forward because, the one starter so far that you kind of really, worry about whether he's ready is Tyler Roberson, the sophomore at small forward. And Michael Benajay is kind of a little bit more of a known quantity, if maybe not quite as big as Tyler. And the worry was always if you put a smaller guy in the back line, you won't rebound well in the zone. But I think in the exhibition games, Michael Benajay has shown an ability to rebound back there. So if he's spending more time at small forward, you really don't get a chance to go real big. I think they're pretty big to start out with. I mean, their starting front line is 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". So, they're big enough at that point. They really don't have like a jumbo lineup like they've had in the past where you had like Fab Melo and Rakeem Christmas on the floor at the same time, or Renzi Onuaku and Rick Jackson on the floor at the same time, or in like more recent years it was Rakeem Christmas and Dajuan Coleman, maybe in the starting lineup together. Because right now Dajuan Coleman's still out. He's still recovering from knee surgery that was done late last January, and until he's back, you really can't go with a really big package.
Mike Waters, Syracuse.com and the Post-Standard, picking up where we left off last year, Mike. And I always love to point out, because you're the best at covering Syracuse basketball. Part of the reason is because you've been doing it for 3 decades. I bring it up every interview because I think it's great on your resume. And I just want to say that Dave Spencer, who runs McLean Food Service here in Albany, he's a buddy of ours, diehard Syracuse basketball guy. I talked to him today, and he's like, yeah, I'm on my way to the Dome right now. And I said, we're going to have Mike Waters on later. And he goes, he's great because he's covered Syracuse basketball forever. I just want to let you know, man, you're well-respected, baby.
Well-respected, well and good, but, man, you make me feel old.
Right? Isn't he evil? He's evil, Mike.
What? It's just a compliment to how good he is.
Armin's terrible at
compliments. I put this out on Twitter earlier today, tonight being the regular season opener. It kind of had me thinking about the first time I covered the Syracuse opening game. I actually started covering the team midway through the 1988-89 season. But the first time I covered the season opener was the 89-90 season. which was, Derek Coleman and Stevie Thompson were seniors that year, and Syracuse began that season ranked number 1 in the country. They were preseason number 1, and they beat Rutgers in their season opener that year. Rutgers had a Syracuse transfer named Keith Hughes playing for them, and Syracuse actually remained number 1 that year, remained undefeated in number 1 until early January. So that was my first opening night as the Syracuse beat writer, and it was about 25 years ago, or 25 or 26 years ago.
See, Levack, that's that recall I'm talking about. Who does that? Mike Waters. That's it. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Waters, SYR. He's the best when it comes to Syracuse basketball.
See, that was better, Mike. At least there, he actually made it work.
Yeah, he sure did.
Mike
I'm
Waters.
okay with that.
Yeah, there you go. Mike, have a great time tonight, man, and we'll be in touch with you throughout the season. Thanks for everything. We always appreciate you.
Hey, always fun talking to you guys. Call me anytime.